Hello students. Today let us learn the second poem of your class 9 textbook Beehive. The name of the poem is Wind by Subramania Bharati. Before we get started, let us try to find out some details about the poet Subramania Bharati. He is also known as Bharatiya. He was born on 11 December 1882 and died on 11th September 1921. He was a Tamil writer, poet, journalist, Indian independence activist, social reformer, and a polyglot. Polyglot is a person who is able to use several languages. He is popularly known as Mahakavi Bharati or the great poet Bharati. He was a pioneer of modern Tamil poetry and is considered one of the greatest Tamil literary figures of all time. His numerous works included fiery songs kindling patriotism during the Indian independence movement. He was born in Ettayapuram of Tirunelveli district, present it is in Thoothukudi, and Bharati had his early education in Tirunelveli and Varanasi and worked as a journalist with many newspapers including The Hindu, Balabharati, Vijaya, Chakravartini, then the Sudeshya Mitran and India. And of course, this poem was originally written in Tamil and it was translated from Tamil to English by A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan, as most of you know about him, is an Indian poet and a scholar of Indian literature who wrote in both English and Kannada. Ramanujan was a poet, scholar, professor, folklorist, translator, and playwright. Many levels of many areas of literature he had his hold. Talking about this poem, we all know that wind is a natural phenomenon. In this poem, the poet talks to the wind and he describes the wind and its destructive power. The poet says that wind is destructive. He has linked the destructive powers of wind to the adversities of life and says that the weak people break down, but strong people emerge out of the adversities stronger. The poem gives an important message that we should be mentally tough and physically strong in order to survive the hardships of our life. A weak person breaks down like a weak building and crumbles. With our strength and determination, we must make these destructive forces our friends. Now let us see the poem in detail. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Poking fun at, to make fun of something is the meaning of that usage. Weaklings, you can say a person who is weak. In these opening lines of the poem, the poet talks to the wind. He asks the wind to come gently and softly. So he says that the wind should not be very strong and loud. It should be soft and subtle. Then he says that the wind is very powerful and it is destructive. It breaks the shutters of windows and scatters the papers. When the wind is very powerful, all the books which are kept on the shelf fall down. So here the poet describes the power of the wind, the destructive power of the wind. Then he says to the wind to look at the destruction that it had caused. Whenever there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak, as it is used like weaklings, like small plants, tiny children, paper, etc., they all get scattered and they can even fall and get hurt. In the initial part of the poem, the poet is referring to wind as a young child. He says that it should come softly, just like a small child does. In the later part, we come to know that the wind is destructive, just like a youth, just like a young boy or a young girl who is full of energy, violence, and destruction. Crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Here, the word crumbling is repeated so many times to lay stress that everything crumbles in the face of a strong wind. So, the writer is saying that when wind is very powerful, it is very strong, very destructive. It leads to the breakage of everything. Houses which are weak fall, doors which are weak fall, the beams on which the roof of the buildings are supported, they also fall. All these wooden structures, they all fall. All bodies of people fall. So he says that everyone, everything crumbles under the destructive power of the wind. Everything that is weak reacts by falling down and breaking in the face of adversity. So the poet says that whenever a weak person faces any adversity or challenge in his life, he breaks down and falls. And in the line, the wind god winnows and crushes them all. Here, the poet is addressing to wind as wind god. And he's saying that the powerful god of wind winnows. We use wind to separate grain from husk. That means he separates all the people, and those people who are weak fall down and get crushed. So here a comparison is made between wheat and people. Just like we winnow the wheat to separate the grain from chaff, the wind god separates the strong people from the weak people. When there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak fall and get crushed. All those who are strong, they stand strong and they do never get destroyed. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The poet wants us to make friends with the wind, that is, the adversities in our lives. He says that the problems will not listen to us. They will come, so we should be prepared to face them. In preparation, we should build strong homes and close the doors of our house firmly so that the wind cannot get into. And then he says that we should also make our bodies strong and hearts very firm to face these challenges. And then, once we are strong enough, all the challenges will be like our friends. We will not feel that they are troublesome. They will never pose a big threat before us if we make them our friend by being strong. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. The poet is comparing the wind to God. He says that wind is God and we praise wind every day. He adds that everything that is weak gets finished off in the face of the strong wind, and all the things that are strong flourish and grow to become stronger. See, if a small fire, it is put out, it is extinguished very easily by a wind. But if it is a strong fire, then Definitely, it cannot be extinguished. Instead, it will be becoming stronger with the help of fire. In this poem, the poet gives us a very important message that we should not feel bad that we are facing so many challenges and adversities in our life. We should make ourselves physically and mentally strong to face these challenges, all the challenges that are put to us, or otherwise we are put in. We have to become very strong so that we can face all these challenges very easily. And once we are strong enough, we will overcome the challenges. We will become friends with them, and then we will be happy that we had these challenges in our life because they help us to become stronger and better. That's all the point. Before we conclude this chapter, let us see the literary devices which are used in this poem. Rhyme scheme. The entire poem is written in free verse or blank verse. There is no specific rhyme scheme in this poem. The other literary devices which are used in this poem are anaphora, personification, repetition, alliteration, and symbolism. Anaphora. When a word is repeated at the start of two or more consecutive lines, it is the device of anaphora. Lines 2, 3, 4 begin with don't. Then lines 6, 7, 8 begin with you. So these are good examples of anaphora. And next is personification. The entire poem is an example of personification. The attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form is personification. In this poem, wind has been personified. When the poet says you are in the poem, he is referring to wind as you. That means he is treating wind as a person. So that's a good example of personification. And literary device that is used in this poem is repetition. Repetition is a literary device that repeats the same words or phrases a few times to make an idea clearer and more memorable. Here you might remember that crumbling. Crumbling is repeated many times to lay emphasis. The poet wants to say that the wind crushes everything that is weak. That's why he repeats the word crumbling in this poem. That's a good example of repetition in this poem. The fourth poetic device that is used by the poet here is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound in close connection. Like examples you can say from this poem: wind, winnows, wand, wand. These all are good examples of alliteration. And the last literary device that is used in this poem is symbolism. The use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities is symbolism. Symbolism means that the thing refers to some other thing. Wind is a symbol in this poem. It refers to the challenges in life. He is using wind as a symbol for the adversities in our life. That's all the poem and its details. Thank you for watching.